What places on the planet would we not like to live in? We are used to comparing ourselves with huge developed countries, and it is right. We should always strive for the best. But on the other hand, we should not forget that there are billions of people in the world who every day face a terrible life and literally struggle for survival. Right now, you're going to make sure that your life is a fairy tale. These are the top 10 creepiest countries. The 10th place is North Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. This is probably the most closed country in the world, and sometimes it is not clear what information about it is true and what is fake. In the 90s, there was a famine in the country, which took, according to different calculations, from 500,000 to 3 billion lives. North Koreans also believe that Korea is united. If you take a political map of the world, published in any country, there will be North Korea and South Korea on it. However, North Koreans are sure that the country is united. So, on their map there will be only one Korea with Pyongyang as its capital. North Korea is one of the few countries in the world whose residents do not pay taxes. Taxes were abolished in the northern part of the Korean peninsula back in 1974. Only organizations and individuals who are outside the country to earn money are not exempted from paying them. Every year thousands of people die in prisons and camps. There is a law in KNDR, the punishment of 3 generations. According to it, if a person has committed a serious crime, not only they are put in prison, but also their children and grandchildren, if they have any. One example is Shin Dong-hyuk. He was born in prison number 14 and was forced to watch the execution of his mother and brother. 9th place. Afghanistan. The country has been in a civil war for almost 40 years with few interruptions, meaning most locals just don't know what peace looks like. The second misfortune of Afghanistan is drugs. After the Americans came here, the cultivation of opium poppy increased 40 times, and today Afghanistan produces up to 90% of the world's raw material for heroin. Russia and European countries suffer the most from it, but the Afghans themselves also suffer. Every 10th resident of the country is a drug addict, and today Afghanistan produces 93% of all drugs in the world. In addition to illegal activities, Afghanistan is rich in natural resources, including minerals, gas and oil, which can stimulate economic growth and development of the country. It is almost impossible to pay with a bank card anywhere in Afghanistan. Only cash is used here. However, dollars and euros are accepted as readily as local currency. 8th place. Somalia. Here, as in Afghanistan, the war lasted for several decades. As a result, the country has turned into a set of warring regions, each of which is ruled by anarchy and armed gangs of Islamists. In Somalia, you can be stoned for adultery, for example. Here, not only local bandits, but every peasant walks around with a gun. And the best gift for a child is a Kalashnikov assault rifle. It can be given, for example, for success in school or on his birthday. The pirates for whom Somalia has become famous say they seize ships not for money, but to protect their fishermen from foreign competitors. The UN says 17 million people are on the brink of starvation in Somalia, Nigeria, South Sudan and Yemen. Somalis are 2,900,000 of them. Somalis measure wealth not in unstable money, but in material values, in particular camels. A person who has at least a dozen of these animals is considered prosperous here. The main legal earnings of Somalis is the extraction of shark meat and its subsequent export outside the country. The most popular food in Somalia is Italian, like pasta, lasagna, and the like. This is due to the fact that the country used to be a colony of Italy. 7th place is Congo. Have you heard anything about coltan? It is a very rare material, without which no cell phone or smartphone will work. In addition, even more expensive metals are found in coltan ores, such as europium, the price of which can exceed $500 per gram, while a gram of gold today can be bought for $40. Half of the world's coltan reserves are located in Congo. At the same time, the locals are far from being millionaires. They line up at coltan mines where they earn $10 a month and get deadly diseases. Power in the country belongs not to the government, but to several armed groups. These gangs have been fighting each other for years over the coltan mines. Control over coltan mining was one of the reasons for the Second Congolese War, which killed more than 5 million people from disease and starvation, making it one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history. In addition to the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is also the neighboring Republic of Congo, and these countries should not be confused. They are different. The official language of Congo is French. Almost no one speaks English here. 6th place. Sierra Leone. This country in many ways repeated the fate of the Congo. Half a century ago, diamonds were found here, for which a civil war broke out that was unrivaled in its brutality. Often the opponents did not even kill, but mutilated their enemies, cutting off their arms, legs and gouging out their eyes. Now in the impoverished Sierra Leone there is no medicine and AIDS and a host of other epidemics. Rage. More than 9,500,000 people in West Africa have died from Ebola. 23,000 have been infected. That's why 1 in 5 children die here before the age of 5, and half of the children don't even live to 15. Poor health can also be linked to the fact that Sierra Leone's national cuisine is completely devoid of meat. Most of the people in this country are Muslims, but about a third of the population remains adherents of traditional African cults. More than half of Sierra Leone's population still cannot read or write. Not surprisingly, the country's internet is completely undeveloped. In the capital, Freetown, there are a few internet cafes, and that's it. 5th place. Nigeria. Here, not only poverty, but also customs can shock any European. If a policeman does not like you, he will immediately shoot you without trial. Ordinary citizens behave in the same way. Recently, villagers stoned and then burned alive to students whom they thought were extortionists. They filmed the whole incident on their cell phones and posted it on the internet. This is called pretrial violence in Nigeria, and the state usually turns a blind eye to such situations. But there is room for creativity. Nigeria is the second largest country in the world in terms of the number of films produced annually, second only to India, and the center of the Nigerian film industry, by analogy with Hollywood, is called Nollywood. At the same time, the budget of the average Nigerian feature film is only $15,000 to $20,000. Nigeria has its own standards of beauty. Here it is fashionable to have lush forms, excessively lush to the taste of most foreigners. Nigerian athletes have been participating in the Olympic Games for more than half a century, and have won dozens of medals since then. 4th place. Bangladesh. This is a small country located in the south of Asia. Culture, traditions and customs have a lot in common with neighboring India. One of the main problems of Bangladesh is this population density. There are more people living in the territory of Bangladesh than in 3 Francia. There are 2 big rivers flowing in this area, the Brahmaputra and the Ganges. From time to time they overflow and drown half the country, causing hundreds of people to die. Then thousands die of starvation due to flooded crops. And finally, those who survive the famine die from arsenic, which is too much in the soul of Bangladesh. Children here under the age of 10 are not even registered. Most of them won't live to that age anyway. The capital city of Dhaka is home to almost 7 million people, of whom officially 10% live on the streets in slums that are located on the railroad tracks. Over time, residents have adapted to this and learned to sense where and when the train is coming from. Still in the provincial areas of Bangladesh, you can find settlements where pagan rituals are very common. People really believe in various talismans and rituals. 3rd place. Burundi. Every year there is a survey in which residents of all countries are asked if they are happy. So, the very last place in this poll was taken by Burundi. And what to be happy about? If in the country from time to time there are interethnic massacres with thousands of victims, and most people are forced to live on 50 cents a day. In Burundi, all universities were closed and all social networks were blocked. By the way, Burundi has only 20 cell phones for landlines, 5 computers and 7 internet users per 1,000 inhabitants. Asphalted roads are almost unheard of in Burundi. There is no railroad service at all. There is, however, an airport. On the streets of Burundi, there are very many military and police. They behave like bandits. They can seize anyone, accusing him of cooperation with the opposition, send him to prison or even kill him on the spot. The Burundian authorities once arrested a stork for spying. Burundi has no medical facilities and there are only about 200 doctors for the whole country. 2nd place. Liberia. Over the past 20 years, Liberia has experienced civil wars that have killed up to 500,000 people. Now this African country is the 3rd poorest in the world, and the unemployment rate among its inhabitants has already reached 85%. And even if there were work, there are few people willing to take it. The locals are used to living on handouts from various international organizations and do not want to get a job. All those who come to Liberia and its cities are struck not even by poverty, but by terrible unsanitary conditions. Garbage in the cities may not be removed for years. Plus, the locals arrange their toilets wherever the need strikes, not shying away from passers-by. They shit in the streets, yards, and beaches. Another peculiarity of the country is Liberian pagan cultures with human sacrifices. For example, locals push babies alive in a stew pot to attract good luck. In 1989, the country's interior minister was convicted for participating in human sacrifice. By the way, a baby here can be bought for $50 to $100. One of the main sources of income of the Liberian budget is the collection of duties for the use of the Liberian flag by merchant ships of other countries. First place, Zimbabwe. Finally, in first place we have a country that has almost all of the items described earlier, plus a little more of its own horror. Zimbabwe has broken many sad records, the most famous of which is inflation. The Zimbabwean currency has fallen 87 sextillion% since its inception. That's a figure with 21 zeros in it. The last bill that appeared in the country was Zimbabwean $100 trillion, but you couldn't even buy a loaf of bread with it. In 2009, the country apparently ran out of paper to print money, and the government allowed other currencies to circulate. Now the dollar, pound, yuan and others are paid here. The central bank has decided to officially abandon the depreciating national currency. Another sad truth is the unemployment rate, which today is close to 100%. By comparison, in the U.S., it is about 10%. Finally, another world record is life expectancy. People here barely live to the age of 35, and half of the children die of hunger and disease while still in infancy. Some experts speak of 30 million HIV-infected people in this part of Africa. A few fun facts: you can see a Kalashnikov assault rifle on Zimbabwe's coat of arms. Zimbabwe holds an annual contest for the most ugly man in the country with a prize of $500. The first president of the country was named Banana, and he even issued a law prohibiting jokes about his surname. That concludes our list. Let us know in the comments which country you would like to visit, and which one you would prefer to avoid.